In blind taste tests, people consistently choose Pepsi over Coca-Cola. This has been proven repeatedly across decades of independent research, including Pepsi's own famous challenge in the 1970s, and a peer-reviewed neurological study in 2004 that scanned people's brains while they drank both. Pepsi tastes better, and it has been losing the cola war for over a century. That is not a paradox. It is one of the most fascinating case studies in the history of business, because it proves something that every entrepreneur, marketer, and business builder needs to understand. The best product does not win. The best brand wins. And the difference between those two things is the entire story of Pepsi versus Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola was invented in 1886 by John Pemberton, a pharmacist in Atlanta, Georgia. The original formula contained cocaine from coca leaves and caffeine from cola nuts. It was sold as a medicinal tonic. Within a year, Pemberton was selling around 9 servings a day from a local pharmacy. Pemberton sold the rights to the formula shortly before his death in 1888. The man who bought them, Asa Griggs Candler, was a businessman, not a pharmacist, and he understood something Pemberton never had. This was not medicine. It was a product people would pay for regularly, repeatedly, and gladly if you made them want it badly enough. Candler spent the next decade doing something no consumer brand had ever done at scale. He gave away free coupons for Coca-Cola, distributed branded merchandise to pharmacies, and painted Coca-Cola on buildings across the American South. By 1895, Coca-Cola was being sold in every U.S. state. Pepsi arrived 9 years later in 1898, invented by pharmacist Caleb Bradham in North Carolina. Bradham had a good product. He had no head start, and for the first 30 years of its existence, Pepsi came close to bankruptcy multiple times. The first time in 1923, the second in 1931, both times surviving by the narrowest of margins. In 1933, Pepsi made the first move that would define its entire competitive strategy for the next 90 years. They doubled the size of their bottle. For the same price as a 6-ounce Coca-Cola, you could now buy a 12-ounce Pepsi. The tagline wrote itself: twice as much for a nickel. It was not sophisticated. It was not glamorous. It was pure value. And it worked. During the Great Depression, when every cent mattered, Pepsi's value positioning gave it a genuine competitive foothold for the first time. But here is the structural problem with that strategy. Value positioning is powerful in a crisis. The moment the economy recovers and people can afford prestige again, the value brand loses its advantage. The turning point came in 1963, when Pepsi launched the Pepsi Generation campaign. It did not talk about taste or value or ingredients. It talked about a feeling, youth, energy, and the idea that choosing Pepsi was a statement about who you were and who you were becoming. Pepsi was for people who were young, or who wanted to feel young, or who rejected the comfortable certainties of their parents' generation. The campaign was a masterpiece of brand positioning. It did not compete with Coca-Cola on Coca-Cola's terms. It reframed the entire category around a new axis, where Pepsi had a natural advantage. Coca-Cola owned the past. Pepsi claimed the future. Then, in 1975, Pepsi deployed its most famous weapon, the Pepsi Challenge. Shoppers chose Pepsi. The results were filmed and turned into television commercials. Even Coca-Cola drinkers preferred Pepsi when they did not know what they were drinking. Coca-Cola was rattled. Its internal research confirmed the same results. And in 1985, in one of the most catastrophic decisions in marketing history, they changed the formula. New Coke was sweeter than the original and closer to Pepsi in taste. It performed well in blind taste tests, but people did not want their Coca-Cola changed. Coca-Cola was not a drink to them. It was a piece of American identity. It was what their grandparents drank and what their children would drink, and it did not need improving. Within 79 days, Coca-Cola reversed the decision and brought back the original formula under the name Coca-Cola Classic. The backlash had turned into one of the most powerful brand loyalty demonstrations in history. Sales of Coca-Cola Classic were higher after the reversal than they had been before New Coke launched. Pepsi had won the taste war and accidentally handed Coca-Cola its greatest ever brand victory. Today, Coca-Cola holds approximately 45% of the global carbonated soft drink market. Pepsi holds approximately 25%. The gap has persisted across a century. What has kept Coca-Cola dominant? Three things. First, distribution. Coca-Cola's global network is one of the greatest logistical achievements in commercial history. Second, consistency. Coca-Cola has maintained essentially the same visual identity, the same red and white palette, the same bottle shape, and the same brand voice for over a century. Pepsi has redesigned its logo more than 10 times in the same period. Third, occasion ownership. Coca-Cola owns certain moments in the cultural imagination so completely that alternatives feel wrong. Christmas advertising, McDonald's, the Super Bowl. These are not just sponsorship deals, they are associations so deeply embedded that reaching for a different cola at these moments feels like a small act of transgression. The Cola War teaches three things that apply far beyond fizzy drinks. Lesson 1. Brand is a product you never stop building. Coca-Cola's century of consistent investment in how its brand feels, rather than what it contains, created a moat that no taste test could breach. Your product can be replicated. The feeling people have about your brand cannot. Lesson 2. Being first is a permanent advantage if you protect it. Coca-Cola's 9-year head start compounded across a century into something structurally unassailable. The second mover has to be dramatically better, not marginally better, to overcome that kind of lead. Pepsi was marginally better. It was never enough. Lesson 3. Winning the argument is not the same as winning the market. Pepsi won the taste argument repeatedly, in the Pepsi Challenge, in independent research, in the neuroscience lab. It was right, and it lost anyway. Because markets are not decided by arguments, they are decided by feelings. And feelings are built over decades, not campaigns. Every video on Unpack Business, we go inside stories like this one. The strategies, the rivalries, and the decisions behind the brands that shaped the world. If that is the kind of content you want more of, you know what to do. We will see you in the next one.